Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey, health junkies, I've got Tom Paladino back on today. If you remember him, he was back a year ago or so on episode 281, and we were talking about scalar light energy. Now, what does Tom do? Well, he researches scalar light energy. He's also a holistic medical expert, and he's a humanitarian. And his main gig is helping enhance spiritual energy and an energetic state of being. Now, after my podcast with Tom last year, I embarked on a year-long scalar treatment. And I gotta admit, I feel different, and I talk about it in the podcast. Now, he also gifted me, after this most recent interview, a natural foods and kind of vitamins treatment for 90 days. And you know what? I do think it had an impact on my metabolism because I was noting that my oxidative stress was a little bit higher. So this is pretty cool. So what's scalar energy? What is this stuff? Does quantum really work? Is it, what? This stuff sounds too woo-woo, doc. Hey, I have to admit, there's something to this. And I can't wait for you guys to listen into this podcast so that you can hear my experience over the last year. Let's reintroduce you to Tom Paladino. Hey, health junkies, I have Tom Paladino on again, and today is a fabulous podcast, and I will refer to my previous one because I want you guys to listen to that one first if you haven't, in my interview with Tom. But I've had a year of doing scalar light therapy. I've been calling it my scalar sessions, and Tom and I were just talking about doesn't have to have any particular label, but I'm feeling really great. There's been a lot of transition in my life, and I haven't been sick. So we're going to talk all about that. So Tom, welcome to the Health Fix podcast.
It's a pleasure once again. Thank you for the invite.
So let's give folks a little recap, because I think, knowing what scalar energy is, knowing what the heck I've been doing, and the fact that I've actually been doing nothing is even better, because I think a lot of people are looking for things where we don't have to do too much. But I do read your emails every day. I get a new email. So nevertheless, tell us about the photos. Tell us about what's happening with those photos, and let's get it kicked off that way.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to speak about scalar energy, scalar light, which is 0-point energy. Some people call it prana. Others might call it quantum energy. It's not electricity. There's two energies in the universe, electromagnetic and scalar. We're working with scalar energy exclusively. So what I have to present today is not Newtonian physics. It's a new chapter of physics, if you will. And I've developed scalar energy instruments. And these instruments harness scalar energy. This is one of the instruments that I work with. They're custom built instruments. So this is my unique approach. Now, with that stated, when I work with people, it's in the quantum field. It's scalar energy. It's all light. There's no biochemical reaction. I work with people by way of their photographs. Now, the good doctor sent me her photograph. I've never met her. You've never met.
No.
But I can send the good doctor quantum healing through a photograph. This is my photograph to demonstrate. Now, my photograph has light attached to it. And that light represents me. It's a signature. So any photograph has a person's signature or their blueprint. Well, when doctor sent me her photograph contained her blueprint, her embedded code, if you will. And this is how I access people through the quantum realm, through the energetic realm. This is the new science in which we're not treating flesh and bones. We're treating the energy field. Let's call it the energy field or the aura of a person. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, it's so easy because we're not bound by physical structure. When let's say if you go to a medical professional, they're looking at your physical body, your soma. I don't look at the physical body. I look at the spirit body. I look at the energetic body. And it's much easier because things take place like that in a flash in the energetic realm. Whereas in our biology, human biology, if you will, it's a biochemical process. Well, this is not biochemical. This is information. So, with that foundational understanding, we move forward. Scalar energy allows me to work with people by way of their quantum field, their energy field, through their photograph. And we can do incredible things through that quantum field.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me. And I think a lot of people are starting to really pick up on the quantum field. We have, a lot of folks like Joe Dispenza and, Bruce Lipton talking about it, but they're not talking about photographs. This is different. Folks. So this is something completely different. And I at first, like anyone, were like, okay, this is interesting, cool. I'm a scientist at heart, so I do like to test things out. But I've now discovered that a lot of the things that I thought were concrete, and this is how things worked, now I'm exploring new avenues. And in particular, knowing that we can change molecules by using quantum energy, this is fascinating. And one of the big things that I've noticed over the last year, I have not been sick, and I travel quite a bit. And folks ask me, well, how did you not get COVID again? How did you not get, even strep throat or a stomach bug? I take my herbs just like other folks, but I think what we've got going on here is that I've had a little help with the scalar light sessions. So tell us a little bit about the different sessions I've been getting, because guys, I get emails every day that tell me what I'm getting each day, and I read them because I want to know, like, okay, I'm going to put some emphasis, and we'll talk about emphasis in that department too, because I think about what I'm getting too each day.
Okay. So when we're instructing this instrument, everything I do is by way of a photograph. Now, again, I will actually take a person's photograph and place it inside the instrument, or I can take a series of photographs. Here's a collage. I could easily work with 1,000, 10,000 photographs a day. So everything is done by way of information, light. Now, let's say I want to instruct this instrument to destroy a virus. I'm holding in my hand a photograph, a magnified photograph of the herpes virus. I would actually place a photograph of the herpes virus inside an instrument. Now, what does that assure me? Well, there's no human interpretation. I'm taking a photograph that represents the molecular structure of the herpes virus. I place it inside the instrument, and I place that photograph of the herpes virus right next to my virus. Now, keep in mind, this is informational. So the information from herpes shares with me. It's a mutual sharing and vice versa. So their energy fields share. The energy fields, if you will, correspond and communicate. Now, in so doing, if I had herpes in my quantum field, this photograph of herpes would detect the herpes virus and destroy it. So what am I saying? I work with photographs of microbes to identify first the microbe and then have that same energy enter into my body and not only identify, seek out the herpes virus, but break it apart, destroy it. Now, this process is beyond human endeavor. There's no human reasoning here. I use a photograph of a microbe, and I use my photograph, and my instrument instructs the energy of the herpes virus to enter into my quantum field. There's no human reasoning. We only use light. Light, scalar light, never makes a mistake. My work is mistakeless, foolproof, guaranteed, because I'm working with light. Light is fundamental. Light obeys the laws of science. And that's why I can guarantee the outcome.
I think it's fascinating because one, in medicine, we always will say there's no guarantees. And two, I think the other fascinating thing is that a lot of us don't think about the energy that viruses, the energy that other things give off, and that we, if we have it, we can be giving off that energy too. And so this is kind of this interplay between them. And one of the biggest things that we've talked about recently, and I know you showed the herpes virus, and herpes virus is much like Epstein-Barr. They're very similar. And we don't really necessarily, coronavirus, it's different, and depending on where your theory is on different things in that one, it is what it is. But I would say that viruses behave similarly, correct? So would they give a very similar energetic kind of pattern, or would they have a little bit of a different aura based on?
You're right. let's consider it as a life form. As a life
Yes.
form, a virus has a specific, if you will, harmonic or signature. I'm holding up, here's another virus, the
Mm,
human papilloma virus.
yeah.
Likewise, I have photographs of the human papilloma virus that allow me to seek out HPV and eradicate it. So what is the point? Every every molecule, every atom, every object is unique. And every object has its unique blueprint or its unique fingerprint. But there are similarities. Now, what have I learned about my work as a pathogenic cleanse? This is the
Mm-hmm.
program that I developed. Here's the commonality. Provided I have a photograph of a microbe, a magnified photograph, the instrument will seek out and destroy that microbe.
Interesting.
So as long as I have photographs of viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites, even prions, and they're magnified photographs, when you get down the molecular level, it has to be a high magnification. When you get down to the molecular level, the instrument will look at the molecular bonds, the molecular code, the molecular geometry, and shatter and disassemble that molecular geometry. So we go from order to chaos. We take an ordered unit, we send the same energy back into that unit that breaks down the chemical bonds, or perhaps molecular bonds or atomic bonds. It's all information now, it's not a chemical reaction. And per se, the instrument will break down, will negate the molecular bonds of the human papillomavirus. And this always works provided I have a magnified photograph of a microbe. So that's the commonality.
Okay. Okay. So,
The
so we have to have photographs of the different things. So then that makes me wonder too, and this is something that I know you have micronutrient days where we're getting our micronutrients and we have omega days. Now you've got pictures then of all of those as well.
Yes. See, now when I'm working, very good. When I'm working with photographs, remember, a photograph is beyond human interpretation. It simply photographs reality. I'm holding up a photograph of riboflavin. And this has now a molecular code. It has a scalar energy signature, riboflavin, B2. And if I wanted to download B2 into my quantum field, I would literally take my photograph and place it side by side the photograph of riboflavin. So the energy of riboflavin enters into my quantum field. And the instruction is to recreate riboflavin in me. So we're not taking a drink or food or medicine. This is non-physical. We're sending the information of riboflavin into me. And what that does, it instructs all of the elements, all of the free elements and proteins in my body to rearrange into riboflavin.
Okay. Okay. So we're somewhat creating our own riboflavin within us when we get a scalar treatment.
Yes. And what are the building blocks? The existing elements, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium. We simply rearrange matter. Now, this is really the quiddity of the matter is this. With scalar energy, you do not have to create matter. I never create anything. I rearrange matter. So the world around us is filled with elements, the periodic table. Now imagine if I can do that with vitamins, eventually I should be able to do that with everything else. If I can create vitamins, assemble, rearrange elements to create a vitamin, then I should be able to create every molecule that we ever need. So with these type of technology, with this emerging science, we're going to be able to create the molecules, the elements that we need. We don't have to dig for it. We don't have to extract. This rules out extraction. There is going to be no more coal mining or oil.
This brings me back to the concept of, a lot of folks will say, you need to take your vitamins. I mean, I will find depletions in folks when I test, it's part of my gig in terms of the scientific realm. Now, when we think beyond that, right? Like, because I am always telling folks, you know what, technically we have everything we need inside of us to heal. This is what you are presenting and the you're provoking within the energy fields, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Because I think a lot of folks, when we're looking at this as a whole, a lot of folks are like, but wait, I've been told I need to take vitamins. I've been told that I don't have enough nutrients in my soil to be able to get what I need. But
Yes.
the issue isn't necessarily that. It's just that we need a little bit of kind of a shakeup, if you will, within our energy system to kind of tell your body, hey, make this, hey, do that.
Yes.
Because we've maybe forgotten this intelligence somewhere along the way.
Yes. Yes. I believe so. I believe you're right. So many of the people who work with us on a year in, year out basis, they're telling us that they no longer need nutritional supplements, protein shakes, multivitamins. Because if you will, these instruments work 24 hours a day, and hence we're assembling nutrients around the clock. Now, what's the key element here? Yes, we're working with energy, but consider that every cell creates now assembles riboflavin. You don't have to rely upon the circulatory system. So you're creating the elements, you're creating the vitamins, you're creating the minerals inside the cell. So you don't have to worry about the circulatory system to deliver it. You don't have to worry about a metabolic process. You're simply creating all that you need inside the human cell.
Wow. That's fascinating because, yeah, I'm big on circulation because I feel that is one of the things that humans do struggle with as a whole if we look into the science realm. But obviously, we're also struggling with energy circulation, as you will, externally. I think this is why we've gotten to some of the cases that we have. Now, with the cells just needing, a little boost, I've also noticed that, yes, while we've gone through this process, I took some micronutrient testing. And I wish I would have had one like right before I started, because unfortunately it just wasn't the timing that worked out. I had it kind of halfway in between. And really, the only thing that showed up on my micronutrient testing was that I had a lot of free radicals. And so I want to talk about that for a second and how that relates to quantum energy, how that relates to scalar light and whatnot. And I was going to ask, can I have a little turn up on my, but I know it doesn't work that way. So I want you to kind of explain to us how that goes, because I know there's no turn up in one direction or other.
There's not. Okay. I really can't comment because the science is so new. I cannot comment how your biological body has free radical damage. I cannot account for that. I wish I could, because what I'm doing remains informational. And your free radical damage has to be considered under the context of some type of chemical reaction. Scalar is non-physical, it's non-chemical. So would I hope that scalar energy would somewhat subdue the free radical damage? Yes, I would hope so. I can't prove that. Yeah. This is, we're a new science. I can't emphasize that enough. Now, I want to make this also very clear to your audience. Nobody has my approach. No group, no scientific group has ever approached me to duplicate my results. And I don't think they're going to, because they don't have this technology. So my instruments are unique. My approach is unique. And right now, I'm the only one in the world that I know of that has this unique approach.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, because if you can help your body to arrange things, there's no money per se in terms of pharmaceuticals.
Yes. You cut to the chase quickly. So if what I'm saying is true, and these instruments can easily break down the molecular bonds of a microbe, of Epstein-Barr, the bacterium that causes TB, on and on. Well, that's a simple solution. That's pennies on the dollar. That's inexpensive. Now, which leads me to my next comment, that scalar energy, the energy of the sun and the stars, that's what I'm tapping into. It's cosmic energy. That's free energy. And for me to offer mankind free energy, some will embrace that and some will find that abhorrent, because free energy will change the energy paradigm. It will change the way we look at energy production and distribution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it changes economy. I mean, there's so many things, and I can see why we want to do that. And I can see why there's some pushback too, for
Yes.
many reasons. Now let's talk about the energy of the sun, the moon. Let's talk about that a little bit, and talk about Tesla, and talk about Hieronymus, and talk about all these different things, because I think a lot of folks might be like, okay, so you held up your picture with your instruments. How exactly
Yes.
can we take that picture and perceive that light and go from there? So I'm going to have you kind of give us a little inner workings there, background.
Let me start with this analogy. We're having a Zoom call, and I see your image. Now, you're not in my computer, right? Obviously, I'm not in your computer. We're sharing images. We're sharing information. So when I place a photograph of a person inside my instrument, that image of a person is their bilocated version. It's their image, just like your image is now coming through to me on this Zoom call through my computer. Well, if I can see you through a Zoom call, then I can see a person through a scalar energy instrument. 100 years ago, if you would have told people that we could have a face-to-face conversation through a box, computer, or a TV, they'd say no. Well, let's advance that today. Now, with this new science, not only can we see your image with the scalar energy instrument, but a scalar energy instrument can interpret, understands the various markers, the various signatures. My instrument can immediately pick up various type of microbes. And I'm sure it can do so many other things that I could not even fathom. It can pick up my chakras. It can pick up my mood, because a photograph represents a person in real time. So, hold on to your seat. This is the new science in which a photograph is in the present moment. And no matter how old the photograph is, it always tells what I'm experiencing right now, spiritually, psychologically, creativity in a creative sense, and my conscious mind, my subconscious mind. This photograph reports my immediate constitution. So it's a new way of looking at reality. It's this new and emerging science. You've heard so many people say there is a quantum realm or consciousness. There is. I have consciousness instruments. This is a consciousness instrument, and it allows me to access the consciousness of the universe. Now, my photograph is filled with consciousness or information. This is the new science. It's beyond electricity and magnetism.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still, I mean, I'm definitely working with folks and my brain too, because when you are so deep in the medical field, you get deep into what you see in front of you, what you can touch, what you can feel. But we know obviously that there's so much beyond what we can touch, what we can feel. And like me standing here right now, we could even go into what that is, more than just molecules. What am, all of that. Let's talk about that for a moment, when just so folks kind of understand a little bit more in terms of us as beings beyond the photo. We're still the same person. And you were saying you can have a photo that's 10 years old and it's still the same aura that you give off, the same energy that you give off.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? So this is what I've discovered. If consciousness is everywhere, then my photograph is everywhere. And I mean that. So if my instrument is a consciousness instrument, it is, then consciousness does not obey time and space. Consciousness is beyond time and space. So when I place my photograph inside an instrument, a consciousness instrument, it's not subject to time and space. You see, in the electromagnetic realm, we're bound by time and space. Consciousness, quantum energy, this what some people call the omnipresence of God, is beyond time and space. Well, this is one of the key factors when I'm considering generation, energy generation. If scalar energy is everywhere from the sun and the stars, and you can propagate it or you can broadcast it anywhere on a dime quickly, Well, that shows it's not only an infinite source of energy, but you can distribute it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need a grid system. So let me go back to my instrument. My instrument does not rely upon satellites, transformers, telephone wires, any type of computer. I simply place a photograph of a person inside this instrument, and this instrument will find them. The universe is the grid system. The universe is consciousness. The grid system is consciousness. You don't need satellites. You don't need cell phone towers. You don't need electrical conduit. You don't need a step down transformer. You don't need power plants. This is the easy way of power generation and power distribution.
That to me, and probably for a lot of people listening, they're like, it's mind blowing. And like the more I get into this, the more I'm like, wow, we have a lot of things that maybe have been kept from us. I can go in a very long dark hole in that department, especially with Tesla energy and his work. You know, just looking at that in the beginning and where he was and how things, you guys, if you haven't heard this, a lot of Tesla's energy was taken and not distributed. And and energy, I said, listen, I'm saying energy, but actually his work on energy was kept from us. And yes, guys, I am diving into conspiracy theory, but I also am, as a being in this earth, is starting to realize that there's a lot more to us than what you see, and that physically, that we have a lot more to that. Now here's an interesting thing that I noticed over the last year that I wanted to mention. I feel that with having the scalar treatments, that I've become more and more open to the quantum realm, but also more and more in terms of it. And I want to hear from you. Is this kind of, I mean, I know that we have parts of the treatments that you give us have also are awakening kind of sorts. And I'm not finding the word, so I'm going to turn it over to you before I go down tangents.
That is astute. Many people say that this energy has opened their mind. It has given them greater mental clarity. Many people say that their dream state enhances. Now, I want to be very frank with your audience. I'm not a sleep therapist. I have no idea how their dream state enhances, or it's a deeper dream state, or people can remember their dreams. But that's the consciousness of the mind, or the consciousness of scalar energy. In other words, this energy is so strong, it will rebalance, reboot our brain waves. And because of that, some people say they have a very deep sleep without interruption, which is great. Sleep is restorative. So what is the point? A scalar energy instrument, by its consciousness, by its intelligence, will automatically reprogram our meridians, our brain waves, and we can sleep well. And many people say they no longer have addictions to cigarettes or some type of alcohol. Or people say they're no longer depressed. So this is the information that we need on the psyche, on the human psyche, to change our disposition.
I definitely have noticed with the sleep, and I haven't been consistent with taking herbs to help me sleep, but I have noticed that I've started to dream. Lately I've had more vibrant dreams, let's put it that way, than I ever have. And so I do feel like I'm expanding. Let's put it that way. There's some expansion happening. Yes, I'm doing some work on my own too, but each time I read the email of what kind of energy treatment I'm getting. So folks, every single day you receive an email that tells you what kind of treatment you're getting. I sit and think about it for a minute. And I don't know if that's, I've never been, you didn't have anything that said, like, if you think about it and you try to kind of focus on it for the day, that's your intention, if it helps speed things up. But I can't imagine it doesn't hurt.
Right. And all of the above. So this is that new science that we're getting into. Now, what do I like about it? Well, we don't use chemicals. So we're not trying to rearrange the biochemistry of the mind. We're sending information into the mind. We're sending information into your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. And the energy from God, I believe this is divine energy, is going to correct the imbalance. If people have a chemical imbalance, well, it's my hope that non-physical instructions will help that. And in many people, it has. Many people say that they're no longer depressed, or they have this zest for life. It's actually changed their mood, their disposition, without chemicals, without drugs. Now, to make this very clear, I'm all for the responsible use of drugs in moderation.
Sure. I mean, if we have to go there, we have to go there, and then working to try to do what we can to get off them, obviously. In this case. Now, what I've noticed mood-wise, yes, things have improved. Do I still have my days? Absolutely. I definitely have noticed that I'm just more aware of things and more aware of my thoughts too. Now, I noticed that you also have a program specifically for folks that are looking into weight loss and things of that nature. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that works with.
Okay, we're able to assemble enzymes and various types of hormones that abet what I would consider fat metabolism. So we call it fat metabolism. And in so doing, many people tell us that under this program, when they're, if you will, receiving this instruction in order to assemble certain digestive enzymes, hormones, certain types of, if you will, what I would consider amino acids that also play a role in fat metabolism, people say that they do lose weight, provided that they don't overeat. So I can't promise you this is weight loss. It's not. It will abet fat metabolism. In other words, we're going to create the necessary micronutrients that have been shown, such as leptin, that have been shown to foster some type of fat metabolism or be a part of these metabolic pathways. But keep in mind, this is not per se chemical metabolism. It's energetic metabolism. And it's never been done before by way of photographs of people and photographs of digestive enzymes. People say that there is an effect, and it is favorable. And those who are willing to curb their appetite and stay on the fat metabolism for 5 or 6 months, they say that they feel better and they have gradually lost weight. That's their experience. And it's very pertinent for me to say I have to rely upon people's experience, because there is no central clinic. I don't work at a clinic. I work at a small laboratory with photographs. So now we're still at the stage where we have to rely upon people and their testimonies.
No, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. And once again, folks who are listening, we're bridging we're trying to bridge the gap between physical stuff and quantum stuff, energetic stuff. So it's really hard to kind of go back and forth in that. I will say for myself, now I didn't go into it trying to lose weight. I went into it pure curiosity, absolutely just wanting to see what's going on. Now, have I lost a ton of weight? No, but I didn't really, that wasn't my goal. Now, do I feel like I'm metabolizing better? You know what I found? I found that I've actually been saying no to certain foods that I know I don't feel good with. I might say I've been even more heightened reactions to certain things. And that may or may not be part of this, but I can't help but think it is, because it's been a slow progress through my journey to be like, I don't really want that, or I don't really like that anymore. And so it is interesting. So I can't attribute it to anything else. I wasn't doing anything specifically for that.
And we've heard that from many people, that for some reason, scalar energy has people gravitate to products of nature, natural foods. And then when it comes to junk food, people really don't have the desire for junk food anymore. So in some way, that consciousness, that scalar light has reprogrammed the psyche, the desire for certain types of food. I've noticed that myself. At one time, I really liked chocolate, and I really don't have much of a desire for chocolate anymore.
It's funny you mention that, because just last night I had some and I did not feel good. And I used to love it. And I was like, ugh, I don't want this. So It's fascinating. Same thing, like wine. I used to like to have a little bit of wine, and now I'm also kind of not so interested in it. So it does make me, and I wasn't doing any other like, biofeedback or negative aversion type of therapy. It just kind of started creeping that way where I was like, I don't like this anymore. Now, I think a lot of folks are probably going, okay, all right, so you've got testimonials, you've got different, accounts, let's put it that way, from folks, including myself now. And guys, yeah, he really does. There's a ton of different Google reviews. What have folks said as a whole after completing, say, a year when it comes to mental health, when it comes to things of that nature? Because I think that one is one that I find fascinating.
In reference to testimonies regarding mental health, I would say on balance, most of the people say they've felt an uplift of their spirit. They're happier. For some reason, they can't put their finger on it, but they're happier. And it seems that if they're faced with adversity, it doesn't seem to be so overwhelming at times. They seem to be able to ride through adversity. People are not, you almost take out the bipolar reaction, the highs and the lows, and people are much more even keeled. Their disposition is tempered. So I think this is quite fascinating. I've heard this so many times from hundreds of people that scalar energy over a prolonged period of time, people are happy. On balance, they're happier. And that for some reason, they're not giving to extremes. They're not giving to extremes in behavior, extremes in food indulgence, extremes in anger. That they can moderate their alcohol intake. So it seems to have some type of governor on not only their desire for certain foods, but a governor on their behavior.
I would agree. I would agree. I mean, if we had done an interview 2 months in, I'd been like, I don't know, don't really notice anything. But when it started to come up on a year, I was like, there's quite a few different things that have changed. And I think my mindset and like you were saying, the opening of the mind, the more receptive to things. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've found. So I know you have probably, how many testimonials do you have right now? I know you guys collect them. So I'm just curious, like on average, just so folks can hear this, because
over the years, I've been at this now for 20 years, at least 4,000 testimonies. They're too numerous to put on the website.
Yeah, for sure.
Every day we'll get 2 or 3 testimonies. It adds up.
Yeah. So 20 years at this. I don't think we highlighted that before. And how many versions of the Scalar Light machine have you gone through in those 20 years? Are you constantly tweaking?
Yes, we're constantly tweaking. To answer your question, probably 10 different models, one model after another. An improvement. I work with a brilliant engineer, and over the years we've if you will, tweaked or improved upon the deliverability of this energy. And we're not finished. One of my goals is to take this energy and to be able to illuminate a house at a distance, which would be free energy. I have another goal to create scalar energy anti-gravity platforms. I believe scalar energy is the actual fundament of gravity. And if you can overcome that certain gravitational, if you will, attraction, or what some people might call force field, then you can create an anti-gravity force field. And if you're in an anti-gravity force field, you can fly 1,000 miles an hour without any G forces.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So that would change your ability to, go from one area to the other. I guess it'd be back to, forgive me for being a child of the 70s and 80s, but the beam me to one place to the other, just kind of going into some of the space stuff.
I think that's possible, because when you're beaming a person or an object from one place to another, you can do that in the quantum realm, because you're no longer bound by electromagnetic energy, by the electromagnetic rules of science. You become non-physical, and in so doing, you can beam yourself or transport or teleport yourself quickly from one place to another. You're no longer subject to gravity. You're no longer subject to the electromagnetic force field. In a scalar energy force field, you're outside of time and space. So it really is just it's an informational targeting. Wherever you want to go, you send that information, you will arrive at that target in the future quickly.
That's fascinating. It kind of makes me think about remote viewing and some of the concepts that go with remote viewing and looking into future or looking into current
Yes.
time.
Yeah. There is a supernatural realm, and scalar energy is our entrance, is our pathway into the supernatural realm. It's non-physical. We're working with the spirit of a person. There's no biology here. And we're outside of time and space. So nothing can impede this spirit energy. I firmly believe this is energy from God. Whereas, electricity, just about anything can impede an electrical signal.
Right.
So this is the spirit world that we're entering into.
It's so cool. I'm wondering, like, do you guys sit around like because obviously photos you have one thing, but having a human being that you could get energy from too, is there any advantage? Because I know you're saying photos, but is there any advantage to having a human being looked at by your technology versus the picture? Okay.
Yeah, it's identical.
Okay.
Why? Because when you're in a scalar energy force field, you bilocate. My photograph allows me to bilocate to my laboratory. My instrument is right now, it's operating, and my photograph is in that instrument. It's as if I were inside the instrument. Well, I don't have to be inside the instrument. My photograph, miniaturized photograph, is inside the instrument. So it's really an identical session.
Wow. Makes sense. Like you said, you could have a 10 years old photograph and doesn't matter, what the instrument is looking at. Oh my goodness. Such fascinating stuff. I am looking forward to hanging out for another year and seeing what kind of things happen in that time. And we'll have to catch back up in another year. Now you have 15 days of free Scalar Light sessions for folks over at the website. And that's Scalar Light, SCALARLIGHT light.com, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes. Right.
Okay. And what else can folks find? Let's tell folks what else they can find on your website so that they can explore this concept of scalar light, scalar energy, and all that goes with it.
Okay, to mention a few other ancillary programs, we have female hormones or male hormones. We have digestive enzymes. We have a new program, amino acids and proteins. Another program, natural foods. Endorphins and neurotransmitters, minerals and precious stones, and fat metabolism. So there's a final one, addiction cleanse. We're able to target, say, cocaine or nicotine and break down the molecular bonds of cocaine and nicotine. So we're addressing addiction. So the sky's the limit. Sadly, I'm only one researcher here. I wish the world would really catch on to this. We would have 10,000 researchers, but that's not the case yet.
How would we expand this? Are you teaching anyone? Are you looking for volunteers?
I would love to teach people, but at the end of the day, it takes so much time. I've devoted my life to this, and it really is a humanitarian gesture on my part. There's no money in this.
Yeah.
And how many people want to spend 10, 20 years pursuing a science that there's no paycheck? It's poorly understood. You can't market this. At least I don't know how to market it. So I present this just as a grassroots effort, and eventually the world will have to embrace this. I think if we can create free energy devices, then there's going to be a lot of money to be made in free energy.
I absolutely agree. The question is, how do we do it without being pursued? Let's put it that way. That's a whole nother question out there. But I do think this is fascinating. I definitely, guys, you'll see my testimonial up there because it's fascinating to me what's went on, and things that I haven't been actively working on have changed. And I definitely feel like I am opening up to a lot of different realms
including the spiritual one and the whole concept here that things do exist beyond the physical. And that there is definitely some divine intervention here. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate you being so open-minded and at least, taking this journey with me over the past year. And that way you really have this before and after perspective.
Mhm.
It's very telling. It's very real. The before and after. Many people who've been on the program for a year tell me that it has changed their lives in many ways.
It has. I mean, it definitely has changed my life, my openness, I think, to exploring new things, my openness to exploring even the spiritual realm, and even exploring God and things of that nature too, where I was very shut off to that. So I find it fascinating. So I look forward to chatting more, and let's just keep putting the word out. That's all we can do.
Thank you, Doc.
Thanks for coming on, Tom.
Hey, Health Junkies, are you feeling just off? Feeling like you're aging a little bit faster than you want to and wondering what in the world is up? Hey, I might have some answers for you and some direction. If you want to chat with me, I am offering complimentary calls right now. You can head over to Dr. spelled out JKRAUSEND.com. Take my quiz, click on the schedule a chat, and let's talk and see if we can get you in the right direction. And if I'm able to help you, I'm going to let you know. Otherwise, I'm going to help you find what you're looking for. Head over to drjkrausend.com and check it out now. Hey, fellow health junkie, thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.